what advice would you have to caregivers who are entering into early decision making and planning with the person with ALS?
I think more than anything, just being willing to go to clinics, listen to what they're talking about, what suggestions they're making, because the clinic we go to is really good at being proactive of all the different therapists and doctors we see.
She goes to clinic with a computer and
I take
notes.
notes to make sure we don't forget anything. But I think just being aware, anticipating. We've been lucky that the pace of his ALS has been slow enough that we've had time to catch our breath between each major change. And I think from a caregiver point of view, actually the biggest thing is that every time there's a change, it's scary at first. It's really scary. You doubt that you're ever going to be able to get it figured out, that you're ever going to be comfortable with it. I worry that I'm doing everything wrong, and that, and
Jan,
it takes a while. And there's usually also, even for me, I get more emotional about things where I'm grieving the change. I'm grieving the loss of what ability he's just lost. And I'm just like, now we've got to go through this whole change all over again, this whole step down. And then at some point, I start getting a sense of, okay, I'm doing this new thing and it's working. And then eventually I'm doing this new thing and I'm starting to feel like I know what I'm doing. And then it's like, oh, this is a piece of cake. And then we can coast for a little bit till the next stop down. But you have to really, for me, I really have to let myself kind of emotionally go through, I'm scared, maybe I'll be okay. Okay, I'm starting to be okay, and I've got this. And you build some resiliency after a while, and that's a lot of it. One of the other things we do is we debrief. Anytime something happens
right.
that was like,
Then we have to talk about what
that was not a
happened.
good thing, we talk about it.
Why it happened and how do we...
How does he want me to respond the next time? What do I need to do? So we do a lot of debriefing.
I think a big thing on caregiving becomes the amount of time that it used to be Jan could jump in the car and go to the store.
Yeah.
And I'd be fine. Now she can't leave more than a few minutes and I'm nervous. So
yeah. I don't go to the store without him. So
it's gone from, initially not so much time, I was more independent, to now I pretty much have to have 24-hour caregiving.
And even things like, if we were to say, okay, let's leave and go someplace right now, by the time we got what we needed, got out to the car, got him buckled up and ready to go, we have to allow probably 15, 20 minutes before we can pull away from the curb. So all of those little things, like you said, none of the caregiving is particularly hard. None of it is particularly complicated. It just all takes lots of little pieces of time. And when you start stringing them all together, it takes a lot of time.
It sounds like you're making a lot of decisions and exploring options as a team, but you've got different perspectives on every choice that you're making. What would you have to say to caregivers who are looking at, again, early sets of decisions and planning?
Just explore the options, and if you really feel like it's not something that's going to work for you and your person with ALS, keep exploring, because like face masks, there's probably like a dozen different kinds.
Yeah. They used to make my nose bleed.
There's 2 or 3 different machines that you can use. All of those things, you can start customizing things quite a bit. So, and sometimes it just takes a while to get things in, try them out.
It sounds like you all have done a lot of advanced planning and have explored different options, which is great. Jan, from a caregiver's perspective, what does that mean to you to have these discussions done early so that you fully know what your options are and preferences are?
I appreciate it that way. It gives me a chance to kind of get used to the idea, even emotionally, and anticipate what we need. And there's usually a lot of conversation about, how's this going to work for him versus how's this going to work for me. There are some things I have a hard time just creating a new habit for things, and it takes me a while to get it dialed in. he always has a sense of what's getting weaker right now. What do we need to start thinking about and we start talking about? We work with clinic, with the RT, with the pulmonologist, and we start talking about things early and getting things in place as soon as we can. And then a lot of times it's just easing into it where we use it once or twice, and then maybe we don't use it again for a couple weeks. And then we use a little bit more, and the next thing we know, we're using it every day, and then eventually all the time. But just
I think
anticipating things makes a big difference. I think with something this big and this scary, the more you can learn and the more you can kind of, I guess, play with it, for lack of a better way to say it, the more you can kind of poke at it and explore it and really understand it, the more you do that, the less scary it gets. And then you start moving into a place where you can really start going, this is a tool that I can use. It lets you live the life you want to live. You know, we may not be able to do everything we thought we would be doing, but we can do a lot of things, and these tools just make it easier for us to do them. So
That's great. Thank you. Thanks very much.
sure. Thank you.